This is what you might even consider a talking indictment. That's kind of lingo for prosecutors who say, load that thing up with everything possible because now it's public record. It's remarkable the amount that Rihanna was able to actually remember and articulate in her conversations with police officers. And what's really important here, Rick, is the details are actually corroborated by forensics, the blood in the car and on the clothes, the text messages that went back and forth, which, by the way, that's the reason for this search warrant. This was a warrant to get the cellular records from all of the phones involved. And now those text messages, those phone calls out and in, and also the messages that were left and the calls that went from the police officer's cell phone on the scene will all play into this case because they corroborate the detail that Rihanna actually provided herself.
It's amazing. Look at the reaction that we've gotten on this already. Give me a shot of the Twitter board if you can, Robert. Look at this. I'm just going to scroll through. Look at all this. These are all comments that have been coming in just since we started doing this newscast. And a lot of them for questions for you, Ashley. Look at this one. Hey, Rick, ask Miss Banfield what the maximum sentence that Chris Brown could get and hopefully will get, this viewer says. He belongs in jail, coward. Let me tell you, there's a lot of them like that, by the way, Ash.
I got the answers for you on the assault charge, which, by the way, is not just a simple assault. This is a felony assault. The actual wording of the assault is likely to cause great bodily injury, which means the intent of the assault was to cause great bodily injury. And the maximum there is 4 years. And the maximum on the threat is 3 years. You add that up and you got yourself 7 years.
This is not a conviction. Let me repeat.
Correct.
This is not a conviction. This is simply a charge. He is innocent until he's proven guilty. But because he's a public figure, because he's an entertainer, this now plays out in the court of public opinion. Can Brooke Anderson, someone like this Chris Brown fella, survive something like I just read where I said, let me find that part again. He then drove again. The assault caused her mouth to fill with blood and blood to splatter all over the clothing while he struck her repeatedly. I mean, yeah. What do you say?
Well, it is much more serious, I think, than anybody anticipated, Rick. And, you know, the DA tells us that if he's convicted, the sentence could range from probation to time in state prison. Now, state prison, where most of the violent offenders go. We're not talking about just county jail here. So it depends on what happens in terms of this case, what kind of plea he enters, if he is convicted, whether people will forgive him, whether he can bounce back. And let me tell you this, if he is convicted, Rick, that makes him eligible for a first strike in California's 3-strike law. This is very serious. If he goes on to get 2 more strikes in his life, that's 25 years to life.
Let me ask Ashley this question then, since you just raised it. Is this a case, you follow cases like this all the time, given that he's a public figure, he's going to have to cop to something, isn't he? I mean, this is not something he's going to walk away from.
You know, I'm not going to say that he's going to be able to cop to this. This is extraordinarily serious.
I mean, at the very least. In other words, it's not a case you just go in, you say, oh, they got it all wrong. I mean, in the past, comparing this to other cases that you've seen, this is very convictable at the very least, isn't it?
You bet. Well, because again of the corroboration in this case, and not only that, the bruises and the injuries that she suffered also corroborate exact moments in her story that
But she may not testify against him. Does that matter?
Doesn't matter. This is all of this stuff is on the record. She told all of this to the police. It exists. And not only that, witnesses who have responded to this, who called 911, also corroborate all this. This doesn't matter if Rihanna comes forward. She could be in love with him right now. They could prosecute and put him away for this.
Yeah, one more thing. As a matter of fact, this is it. Let's go to MySpace. Man, everybody's getting in on this conversation. I lost my sister to domestic violence, writes this viewer. I'm getting chills reading this. And it's sad that women realize the danger they're in and do nothing about it until it's too late. That's obviously a stunning comment. He lost his sister to domestic violence. Brooke, back to you. There's talk, and you know, you don't want to get into the gossip of this. We're CNN, but still, there's talk that she's going to go back to him and all that jazz. And one, just as a guy, as a human being, you can't help but wonder, Why? And
Why?
there's talk also that there's some people who know her who are going to try and knock some sense into her. What are you hearing about this?
Of course. Well, you know, it's not uncommon for a victim or an alleged victim of domestic abuse to go back to reconcile with her abuser. But yeah, People Magazine reports that they have reunited, that they spent time in Miami Beach last weekend, stayed at Sean P. Diddy Combs' mansion. We reached out to Diddy, no comment there. We reached out to Brown, no comment there about that.
Wow.
And Rihanna's people just tell us, you know, hey, refer to her statement that she's strong and appreciates the support. But the question is, why, like you say? But it does happen.